So what we're finding is that people are time poor because most households who can afford a good mortgage have two incomes, so husband and wife are working. They want a great lifestyle, that's why they come and live here. So they drive very nice vehicles, they want to come home to a beautiful home, but they actually don't have the skills or the time to create that for themselves. So what we're finding is really good design and features and architecture and building delivery has escalated in our marketplace, and the people who can provide that are doing quite well. So that's a very important point, because the market is quite starved of good product. They're living locally, they're living in quality homes, but they want to upgrade themselves to the current trends. So there's an opportunity inside that space for builders and architects to provide good stock, and then the market will pick it up. Well, my personal preference, I live in a Queenslander, it's renovated, it has what I feel are the key triggers in the real estate market for investing, and that's what you're doing if you're going to live in a home, you're investing in that home. So a large block of land, beautiful traditional Queenslander, not affected by any negatives, and it needs to have a great location in the right school zone, and it needs to be sympathetic to its original form. And if that's what you buy, or that's what you're creating, there's definitely a market for that. Okay, a very good question. If you buy a traditional old home, make sure you don't destroy what you've purchased. So if you've got beautiful fretwork, lace verandas, all the original features that were placed there by a craftsman, because that's who used to build homes. They were cool builders, but they were craftsmen. Now today, they use a nail gun, or they stick boards together with glue. The traditional old Queenslander house was put together with mortise and tenon. That's why they can put it on the back of a truck and take it somewhere, because it doesn't fall apart. It's integral to itself. And all those traditional features, all the mouldings, the floor, the ceilings, the fretwork, all those bits and pieces are extremely expensive to buy because they're custom. And it's a rare art for a builder now to be able to put together a traditional Queenslander home, because those skills are now lost. But you can buy them and you can restore them. So be very sympathetic in what you're doing, and the market pays for that. Yeah, very interesting question. There is a movement that when you live in a home, you raise your children, and then you think, oh, retirement's coming, I'll sell my big house and then move into an apartment. And that trend's been going through Brisbane over the last 15 to 20 years. I'm also seeing a counter-cyclical trend to that, where people have actually sold their home, gone into an apartment, and now they've been living in that space, and grandchildren have come, and there's impacts with that. So now they're selling those apartments and coming into residential homes, and some of them even wanted to buy their own home back again, because that was their family home, and they want to enjoy that space. Because it's an open and relaxed space. When you go into a unit or an apartment or a townhouse, there's other factors at play, where there's a lot of people on site, there's lifts involved, there's restrictions in what you can and can't do with your home, because it's a multiple dwelling. So people want to come back into a relaxed space, they want to keep their expenses down, so they want to buy a residential home on its own block of land, they want it in good order, and they want their family and friends to be able to come and relax in that space. So we are seeing a trend back to the traditional family home, not the super large backyard for maintenance, but a nice small backyard, something compact, and again walking distance to coffee shops and restaurants and transport and all that sort of thing. Look, it's all about getting on the property ladder. If you can afford to buy a house for $500,000, let's say you can, so you have some choices. You can move out to the outer suburbs and you can buy a beautiful home on a flat block, a new home, for $450,000 to $500,000 to $550,000. But the stock levels out there are quite high. So therefore, when you go to sell that home in the future, there's lots of choice for buyers. So because there is a lot of choice, a capital gain that you'll receive in that market could possibly be a little less than if you bit the bullet, moved into an inner city location where there's very few houses of that value, bought something old in very average condition, spent some time over that 5 years improving the property, and then you went to sell it back into the marketplace, you'll be quite shocked on how many people want to buy in a city, because the natural trend is to move into town, and as your fortunes increase, that's what happens. If I had $3 million to spend today, I'd go out to Indooroopilly, to Goldesley Road, Indooroopilly. I have a magnificent multi-generational home. In my opinion, it is extraordinary value. It's a 3-storey building with a lift, has a games room over the garage, has the most gorgeous pool. It's close to Indooroopilly shopping town, the train. It's close to great schools, which is St Peter's School, Brisbane Boys College, and it's just a very short trip out on the Western Freeway from the city. I think it's extraordinary as far as value is concerned, and it's a top quality home, and as I said, it's multi-generational, and that's where things are going. I think there's been a shift in the last 10 to 15 years. It's all about being able to enjoy yourself very quickly, whether it's going to see a movie, if you've got a bit of downtime, or you're going to a beautiful restaurant, and the amenity of that needs to be very quick nowadays. So the planning is a lot less. So we've seen a lot of people go to New Farm, for example, because those things are there at your fingertips instantly. You can get good current accommodation when you get there. You can go to a beautiful restaurant. You can go to a bar. You can go to a cinema, and those things are very important. So the inner north, inner west, there's great opportunity here, and we're feeling that too at the Rosalie Village in Paddington itself. It's starting to grow quite quickly because places like New Farm, their prices have escalated, and we're now escalating as well. And we're finding people coming out of that marketplace, coming into our marketplace, having sold and done well, and they're generating that opportunity back through our residential zone for that amenity. So it's quite exciting for us. We're expecting an uplift in the next 5 to 10 years, and we're going to end up as one of Brisbane's premium suburbs. Well, the investment market in general has slowed down. So what we're seeing is for every 10 houses that I sell, one of those is an investment house. So it's all principal place housing, and people are moving from one house to the next, and they're staying in their general location. So if they have an old house that needs renovating, they're buying a renovated house and then they're selling their old house. I'm constantly asked by people in the marketplace when they're buying a house, particularly when they're buying from another agent, they ring me and say, Andrew, what do you think? Because I've been giving information freely and openly my whole career, and I think that's very important. And ultimately, if that person buys a house from another agent, they ring me up in 5 or 10 years' time, and they say, Andrew, you gave me great advice at the time. I bought the home that I really wanted, and I appreciated your input, your honest input about that property. I love that house for those very reasons that you told me to buy it. And it's been a great experience, and I've made a great capital gain, and I'd like to thank you for that advice by giving you the listing to sell it for me. So that's what it's all about, folks. It's all about good and open information, and I do know the difference between quality residential property and what's not. I'm very lucky. I can't believe that I've been very fortunate to come from a real estate family. What I like is, over the time of my life, I've seen the residential market go from something that was just simply where you just bought a home and you stayed there for your life, and then you sold it when you went to a retirement village. I've seen the greatest growth in the residential market, I think, in the history of Australia, where people have got on the back of this bandwagon where you're going to buy a home, renovate it, sell it and make money. And that has just transformed these suburbs from very old suburbs to fantastic, new, ultra-modern hubs where modern people want to live with all the amenity that has. And it's been a fabulous journey for me, for two-way radios in my car to now a mobile phone with a computer in my pocket, where I'm doing transactions worldwide, doing them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, It's extraordinary. I did a transaction the other day on Instagram. Incredible. I've never met this person. They used to live in the inner city west of Brisbane. They went to university, Queensland University. They lived in that house. They sent me a message. I sent a message back. We agreed on a price and we've sold the house. It's extraordinary. So I've lived that space, and it's just, as technology grows, it's just getting more and more exciting. We can virtually dress your home now. We can virtually walk you through the home. You actually don't have to come and meet me anymore. You'll meet me virtually. We'll have a conversation. We'll build a relationship still, because that's what it's about. I'll send you some information about a property. We'll virtually walk through it together, and I'll send you an electronic contract. You'll sign it and send it back to me, and I'll buy the house that you want. It's extraordinary. The best thing that ever happened to me is I met my wife, and I've had a very, very happy life, and I've had a great life traveller, and real estate has given me all the good things that I have in my life. Thank you very much for your questions. It's been great to answer them for you. You know, every day I get asked different questions about the marketplace, and I like to think I've got a contribution to make, and hopefully I've answered all those questions today. But if you've got any more, please send them through, and happy to answer them at any time.